Benedict, to you right there by the crowds as the king and queen are waving. What can you hear being chanted?
God save the king. I'm not sure if I heard God save the queen. A few people might have been saying that, but wow, what an image to see them, as I mentioned before and predicted, they'd both come out.
The crown will change hands, and with it, the fate of Queen Camilla. Palace insiders confirm that Prince William's coronation will mark the dawn of a new royal era, one with no place for the woman who once stood beside the king. From stripped titles to quiet exile at Ray Mill House, this is the inside story of how Camilla is being erased from the monarchy, step by calculated step. Coronation date confirmed. The news didn't explode with fanfare. It slipped into the headlines with a palace statement so carefully worded it could have been missed by the casual observer. Yet, for those who truly understand the machinery of the monarchy, it was a bombshell. Buckingham Palace officially confirmed that on December 7, 2025, King Charles III will abdicate. His reign, a reign that began with grand promises in September 2022, will end quietly just over 3 years later. The official line was polished and diplomatic. The king's health and the long-term stability of the monarchy made this the right moment to pass the crown to his son. But as is so often the case in royal affairs, the public explanation tells only part of the story. Behind the gold-trimmed doors of Buckingham Palace, aides and insiders have whispered for months about the strain within the royal household. Tensions over public image, fractures between generations, and a growing recognition among senior advisors that time was running out to reshape the monarchy for a new era, one that would not be defined by Charles' controversies or Camilla's divisive history. For Queen Camilla, this date was not just the moment it was the day her own crown would be taken from her, not by force, but by calculated design. Sources close to the palace have hinted at William's unwavering vision for his reign, a monarchy streamlined for efficiency, respect. In that vision, Camilla does not belong. Her presence, however legitimized by years of official duties, tethered to the most turbulent chapter of modern royal history, a chapter William has no interest in preserving. The abdic is in many ways a clean surgical strike. Officially, the nation will witness a dignified handover from father to son. Unofficially, it is the first step in a long-laid plan to remove Camilla from the heart of royal life entirely. Every neatly typed line in the palace's statement was crafted to make this transition look graceful. But beneath the politeness lies a message as sharp as any royal decree. When December 7th arrives, Camilla's reign as queen consort will not survive the day. And so, while the public may count down to a historic coronation, Camilla is counting down to something very different. The end of her influence, her privileges, and her presence at the center of royal power. That countdown would not remain abstract for long. In the months following the announcement, the machinery of the palace began to move with quiet precision, setting in motion a process designed to make Camilla's removal seem inevitable, long before the coronation even arrived. The countdown to removal. Once the date was set, it was as if an invisible clock began to tick. Not for the nation, but for Camilla. She had less than 12 months to hold on to a role that had taken her to cure. The countdown wasn't marked by grand gestures or sudden announcements. It unfolded in small, almost imperceptible steps that only revealed their true when seen together. Spring 2025 brought the first signs. The official royal diary, a document scrutinized by journalists and insiders alike, told its own quiet story. William and Catherine were increasingly listed as the leads for major state events, the kinds of engagements that project stability and define the monarchy's image. Camilla's name, once a near constant presence on such schedules, appeared far less frequently. Her planned appearances were postponed without explanation. Others were reassigned entirely, often to Princess Anne or Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. To the public, these changes could be passed off as a simple reshuffle. Perhaps to lighten people saw the reality. This was the first stage. The logic was clear. By the time the coronation arrived, the public would already be accustomed to seeing less of her. That way, when she disappeared from the official stage entirely, it would seem almost natural. Media coverage began to reflect this shift. Photo spreads of royal events increasingly focused on William and Catherine, while they did occur, were often given smaller headlines, buried beneath stories of the younger royals' activities. Commentators began speaking of the William and months before it officially began. It was not just the press or the public schedule that betrayed the palace's intentions. Behind the scenes, courtiers were quietly reassigning responsibilities Camilla had once held. Patronages were reviewed, ceremonial duties redistributed, and her access to key planning meetings reduced. By summer, the signs were no longer subtle. They evolved into something more visible, deliberate steps to push Camilla to the margins of royal life. And as each move became public, it was clear. The first blows of her removal had already been struck. The first moves against her. The early changes might have been disguised as streamlining, but by mid-2025, the pattern was undeniable. Ceremonial. Roles Camilla were suddenly given to others. Long-standing appearances she had considered hers to oversee were struck from her diary entirely. Speeches she delivered, once guaranteed to make the evening news, barely registered in the press. Royal the shift. It wasn't just that she was appearing less often. It was that when she did appear, the event strategically unimportant. High-profile for William and Catherine. Camilla, meanwhile, was sent to smaller, quieter functions far from the spotlight. In the optics-driven world of the monarchy, this was no accident. Every decision reinforced the same unspoken narrative. Camilla was being repositioned. Her image, long a contentious point among the public, was no longer one the palace wanted at the forefront important institution. Even her seating at events began to shift, placing her away from Catherine during key moments. For all the palace's carefully polite language, the underlying message was unmistakable. She was not the future. Moves were only the beginning. What came next would be far more personal. Changes on her public image and struck at the very core of her royal identity. Locating her. If the earlier cuts to Camilla's schedule were the warm-up, the main event, the formal stripping of her royal titles and the removal from her position at the very heart of the monarchy. Palace insiders have confirmed what was suspected for months. William's first act as king will be to end her reign as queen consort. The styling, the ceremonial privileges, symbolic weight of the title, gone. In its place, she will be left with a courtesy designation, likely Queen Dowager, or a lesser honorific, one that carries no constitutional authority and far less public prestige. For Camilla, the loss of that title is not just administrative. It's that her time as the crown's leading lady was a temporary arrangement, tolerated under Charles. It is, in royal terms, the equivalent of wiping her name from the history books of active service. And it won't stop there. Almost immediately after the coronation, Camilla is expected to vacate her official residence at Buckingham Palace. The sprawling ceremonial tower will be reallocated to working royal's vision. Camilla's new address? Ray Mill House in Wiltshire, her purchased in 1996, long before her marriage to Charles. While it's a comfortable country, symbolic exile. Once the beating heart of public life, she will from the fringes, physically removed from the corridors of influence. Security, too, will be scaled back. Sources suggest her royal protection team could be cut in half, that she is no longer considered an essential working figure. The convoys, the high-profile escorts, the formal processions, all will vanish, replaced by the quiet anonymity of a scale. For the public, the optics will be unmistakable. The former queen consort reduced to a ceremonial footnote, living in quiet retirement away from London. For Camilla, it will be the moment the full in, that her place in the royal narrative has been deliberately and permanently erased. But William's plan doesn't end with her. Camilla completely from the monarchy's future, he must also dismantle the subtle web of influence she's built through her family, a move that will cut deeper than any loss of title. Catherine's rise. The palace confirmed the coronation date. Catherine began her final preparations for the role of queen consort. While Camilla's influence has been quietly stripped away, Catherine's has been deliberately built up over the past decade. She has been trained not just to fulfill ceremonial duties, but to shape the very image of the monarchy in the 21st century. As queen consort, Catherine will inherit all the privileges previously held by Camilla, representing the crown at state, dinners, leading foreign tours, and standing beside the sovereign at every major national and international event. Unlike Camilla, Catherine's presence is not a point of division among the public. Polls show her approval ratings consistently above 80%, with admiration crossing generational and political lines. Her initiatives, from mental health advocacy to early childhood development, have earned both public respect and institutional backing. The Shaping Us campaign in particular has been embraced by major UK institutions, ensuring its long-term impact. Under William's reign, these projects national priority status, further cementing Catherine's role as the face of a modern, compassionate monarchy. Diplomatically, Catherine has already built strong ties with leaders across the Commonwealth, a network that will be essential to William's vision of a globally respected crown. These relations, they will help ensure the monarchy remains relevant beyond Britain's borders, a task Camilla never fully embraced or achieved. In public, Catherine's rise will be presented as seamless, the natural successor to the role of queen consort. In reality, it is the result of years of careful positioning, contrasting her elegance against Camilla's polarizing past. Each public appearance Catherine makes after the coronation will reinforce this contrast, making Camilla's absence feel not just planned but necessary. By the end of William's first year on the throne, Catherine's position will be so firmly established that the idea of Camilla reclaiming will seem absurd. And while Catherine will dominate the present, William is also preparing the monarchy's future. At the center of that plan is a young princess whose debut will send a clear message about where the crown's loyalties truly lie. The Charlotte factor. Golden carriage carries William and Catherine through cheering crowds on December 7, 2025. They will not be alone in the spotlight. Standing beside her mother during key moments of the ceremony will be Princess Charlotte, just 10 years old, poised to take her first official steps into public royal life. Charlotte's presence is no accident. Palace planners understand the power of her image, a confident, articulate young princess who can charm audiences while representing the monarchy's future. Her role in the coronation will echo the warmth and accessibility Diana showed with her sons in the 1980s and 1990s, reinforcing William's commitment to a people-focused crown. Over the past 2 years, Charlotte has received private coaching, media handling, and state protocol, training designed to prepare her for a lifetime of royal duty. Her debut will be carefully choreographed to capture public attention, drawing favorable comparisons to her grandmother Diana and subtly contrasting with Camilla's absence. This is more than just a charming family, it is a strategic statement. The next generation is being prepared without Camilla's involvement, her earlier objections to Charlotte's early public role now entirely irrelevant. The monarchy's future is being built in the image of William, Catherine, and their children, with no space for Camilla's legacy. By giving Charlotte a prominent role in the coronation, William ensures that the narrative of renewal and continuity dominates the headlines. Camilla, meanwhile, will be reduced to a footnote, watching from the sidelines as the crown passes not just to a new monarch, new family identity entirely separate from hers. But while the coronation will showcase the monarchy's carefully curated future, the weeks and months leading up to it are even more decisive. The way public opinion and media pressure have all but guaranteed Camilla's permanent exile. Public opinion and media pressure. If there is one foreign palace strategy, it is public opinion. And in 2025, the tide has turned against Camilla with a speed and finality that even her most loyal supporters could not ignore. Recent polls from the summer show William and Catherine enjoying approval ratings above 80%, a figure that puts them in the same league as the most figures in modern history. Camilla, on the other hand, has plummeted below 25%, her lowest point since marrying Charles in 2005. Just statistics. They are political currency within the palace. A monarch's popularity is the foundation of their influence, and the same is true for those closest to them. With William riding a wave of public support, he has the freedom to make sweeping changes without fear of backlash, even if those changes mean removing a sitting queen consort from active duty. The media has seized on this shift with uncharacteristic unanimity. Tabloids call William's coronation the people's moment, focusing on the freshness and optimism of the new reign. Broadsheets run editorials on reforming the royal household and closing the chapter on past controversies. International outlets from the New York Times to Le Monde openly speculate on Camilla's removal, treating it less as a question of if and more as a certainty. Television interviews with royal correspondents increasingly speak of her in the past tense, as though her role is already over. On social media, the narrative is even harsher. Hashtags like Diana Era Restored and Queen No More have trended repeatedly since the coronation date was announced. Viral videos juxtapose images of William's young family with footage of Diana in her prime, reinforcing the idea that the monarchy is finally returning to its moral roots. This combination of media narrative and public enthusiasm is a tide no one in the palace is willing to swim against. Even Camilla's long-standing allies in the press have gone silent, redirecting their coverage toward the excitement surrounding William and Catherine. Inside palace walls, this silence is telling. It signals that defending Camilla is no longer politically useful. Without media support, without public sympathy, and with the weight of polling against her, Camilla is left with no shield. The momentum for her removal has become self-sustaining, feeding on every headline, every online trend, every glowing profile of William and Catherine. And so, with the public firmly on William's side, and the press already writing Camilla out of the royal story, the palace can move to its final stage, the quiet but total dismantling of her role. By the time December 7th, 2025 arrives, Camilla will already be a queen in name only. The weeks following the coronation will transform that title into a ceremonial courtesy, devoid of any real influence. She will formally retire from public royal life, a move that will be framed as a graceful withdrawal, but understood as a permanent exile. Her apartments at Buckingham Palace will be reassigned to working royals aligned with the new reign. Ray Mill House in Wiltshire will become her permanent residence, placing her far from the ceremonial and political heart of the monarchy. Her security detail, once a visible marker of status, will be reduced to a small private team. Even the state vehicles she once used will be reassigned. Small symbols, perhaps, but in the monarchy, symbols are everything. Her charitable patronages, carefully cultivated over nearly 2 decades, will be redistributed among Catherine, Princess Anne, and other active royals. These causes will continue, but without her involvement, the public association will shift entirely to their new patrons. Within months, her contributions will be largely forgotten, replaced in the public memory by the faces and names now carrying the work forward. Inside the palace, her staff will be reassigned, her access to decision-making bodies fully revoked. She will no longer attend state banquets, foreign tours, or Privy Council meetings. The monarchy will function as though she never held the position of queen consort at all. To the outside world, it will appear seamless, a dignified transition, from one era to another. But for those who know the story, it will be clear. This was no simple retirement. It was the calculated execution of a long-term plan to remove her completely from the monarchy's present and future. And when the golden carriage rolls through the streets of London, carrying King William and Queen Catherine to the cheers of the crowd, Camilla will be watching from the shadows, the final image of a reign that ended not with scandal, but with quiet, deliberate erasure. Erasing the Parker Bowles influence. For years, Camilla's children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes, have enjoyed a unique, if unofficial, position within the royal orbit. They were never working royals, but they were visible, present at weddings, seated in the royal box at Ascot, included in the soft focus images that signaled family unity. They attended Trooping the Color, appeared alongside Camilla at charity galas, and mingled with senior royals at memorial services. In a monarchy built on image, such appearances matter. They create the impression of proximity, of legitimacy. William has made it clear that era is over. Under his reign, access to royal events will be tightly controlled, reserved for the direct bloodline. This means the Parker Bowles family, Camilla's personal branch of the tree, will vanish from public view almost entirely. Invitations will no longer arrive for state ceremonies, royal processions, or high-profile services. Charities that once relied on joint appearances with Camilla's children will be reassigned to full-time working royals, such as Princess Anne or the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. This is not just about event invitations. It's about dismantling influence. Over nearly 2 decades, Tom and Laura have built quiet networks through their mother's patronages and royal connections. Under William, those networks will dissolve. Without the visibility and prestige that comes from palace association, the Parker Bowles name will fade from the public consciousness. It is, in many ways, the final safeguard. Even if Camilla herself were to attempt a private resurgence, through charity work, media interviews, or public appearances, she will do so without the subtle reinforcement of her family's inclusion in royal life. The monarchy's future will be presented as a pure bloodline operation, untainted by the controversies and blended family dynamics of the past. And the message is crystal clear. This is not just the removal of a queen consort. It's the deliberate erasure of her entire legacy, both public and private. For Camilla, there might have been one last line of defense: King Charles himself. But as the abdication approaches, even that lifeline is slipping away. The man who once fought to secure her place in the monarchy is quietly preparing to let it all go. Charles's quiet surrender. Throughout their marriage, Charles has been Camilla's most steadfast protector. Against public opinion, against political pressure, and even against elements of his own family, he stood by her. His influence, more than anything else, secured her transformation from the vilified other woman to the crowned queen consort. But in the twilight of his reign, that protective force is fading. Palace insiders reveal that Charles has privately accepted William's vision for the monarchy, a vision that excludes Camilla from the center of power. His public demeanor has softened. His once firm voice in state matters now carries the tone of a ceremonial figure rather than an active strategist. Reports from Clarence House suggest his focus is on a dignified exit, not a political battle to preserve his wife's role. Why this change? Those close to the king point to a combination of health concerns, age, and an acute awareness of public sentiment. Charles knows that his son's popularity is soaring, while Camilla's approval ratings have plunged to their lowest in years. To oppose William now would not only risk a public split, but could undermine the stability of the very institution Charles has spent his life defending. For Camilla, this withdrawal is devastating. The one man who could have shielded her from the coming storm has stepped aside. His abdication will not just mark the end of his reign, it will mark the end of her protection. Without Charles at the helm, she will face the palace machinery alone. And in that silence, the palace will move swiftly. Titles stripped, residences reassigned, patronages redistributed. The royal world she fought to enter will close around her like a shutting door. But the driving force behind William's decisive actions is not just political strategy, it's deeply personal. At the heart of his vision lies a promise to honor the legacy of the mother he lost and to reshape the monarchy in her image, Diana's legacy as the guiding force. For Prince William, the coronation is not simply a formal transfer of power, It's a deeply personal moment shaped by the woman whose influence has guided his values for nearly 3 decades, Princess Diana. To understand why Camilla's removal feels so inevitable, one must understand the depth of Diana's presence in William's vision for the monarchy. Diana's life and legacy were defined by compassion, accessibility, and a willingness to challenge outdated royal traditions. Her tragic death in 1997 left William with not only a personal loss, but a mission. Over the years, he has spoken about her values with a reverence that borders on duty. And now, as the throne passes to him, that duty will be woven into the very fabric of his reign. Palace insiders say William has instructed his coronation planners to ensure Diana's legacy is felt in every detail of the December 7, 2025 ceremony, from the music to the charitable causes highlighted. Organizations Diana championed, from homelessness initiatives to AIDS research and youth outreach, will once again take center stage. Many of these patronages, stripped away in the years after her death, will be restored under Catherine's name, symbolically bringing Diana's work full circle. This restoration is not simply about philanthropy, it is about image. Every public tribute to Diana reinforces the idea that the monarchy is correcting past wrongs, a narrative that casts Camilla's presence as a blemish on an otherwise carefully polished future. In this new royal era, Diana is the moral compass, and Camilla is the reminder of a chapter the palace would rather close. Even the possibility of a public acknowledgement of Diana during the coronation has been floated. Some suggest it could come as a short dedication speech. Others imagine a symbolic moment, such as displaying one of Diana's personal items within Westminster Abbey. Either would be unprecedented in modern royal history, and either would overshadow Camilla entirely. For William, the symbolism is powerful. His reign will begin as a tribute to the mother the monarchy failed to protect, and in doing so, it will quietly but firmly remove any place for the woman most associated with that failure. But while Diana's spirit provides the moral foundation for this new reign, the practical execution of that vision rests on someone else. Catherine, the woman who will become the monarchy's most visible and influential female figure. The monarchy's quiet reset. The story of December 7, 2025 will be told in history books as the day King Charles stepped aside and his son ascended to the throne. But beneath the official narrative lies a quieter, sharper truth. This was also the day the monarchy closed one of its most controversial chapters. For William, it will be remembered as the fulfillment of a promise to restore the crown's moral credibility, to honor his mother's legacy, and to build a future defined by loyalty, stability, and the direct royal bloodline. For Catherine, it will be the beginning of her era as the most visible and respected female figure in the monarchy. For Princess Charlotte, it will be the first step toward a lifetime of public service. And for Camilla, it will be the end. No titles worth wielding, no palace to call home, no seat at the table where decisions are made. The crown she once wore will move on without her, leaving her to fade quietly into the background of royal history. This isn't just a coronation. It's a deliberate rebranding, a monarchy recast for the future by removing the one figure who could never escape the shadows of the past. Do you think Camilla's removal is the right move for the monarchy? Or has the palace gone too far? In rewriting history? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the Royal Echoes for more insider royal exposés.